Welcome back to Bills in Business. I'm Laura Davis, founder of USLege, where we talk to innovators who are transforming industries through technology, entrepreneurship, and forward thinking. And today, we're talking to somebody in the intersection of health and industry. Joining me today is Pavan Kumar, General Manager of Ultrahuman's Advanced Health Tech Facility in Plano, Texas. Ultrahuman is redefining how we think about health and wellness, biosensors, biohacking to improve health in real time. So Pavan, welcome to the show.
Oh, I can think of a million reasons to have a home robot. So it does my laundry all the time and cooks me lunch. Correct. And I mean, the one thing I was just thinking of for this is childcare.
Yeah.
Are we going to let robots take care of children? We can get into it, but Pavan, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to talk about some very cool robotics and wearables, but do you want to tell people a little bit more about yourself?
My name is Pavan Kumar, and I finished my PhD last year.
Congrats.
Thank you. From University of Texas, Dallas.
Cool.
In mechanical engineering with focus on design and automation and education, trying to do many things in my PhD. But when I graduated, I found myself this job at Ultrahuman, and we were manufacturing rings in Plano. So right now our manufacturing is shut down for whatever cases, but we had 100 people on the line building a lot of our products out there in the factory. And I was managing that factory, and I was also planning to bring in automation and some of those things because some of the processes are still manual for our smart ring and for several of our products. And we wanted to change that, especially because when you bring manufacturing or reshore manufacturing back into the US, some of the, you don't have the same sort of labor as you have it elsewhere. So you have to think smart, you have to think differently. And also you want to make sure that your end customer price is not significantly higher because your other costs are high. So in order to meet those, automation becomes a level playing field, because then you have where it takes 300 people, you can do the same kind of output and efficiency using 100 people or even less, right? So you can replace those kinds of monotonous, repetitive tasks with automation, right? And that's what the goal was. And I guess that's where I'm coming from, as an introduction, saying that as a person coming into this country as a, let's say, on a student visa, right? And then you get to get a chance to work on some of the cutting edge technologies, and then helping shape, these wearables and other kinds of devices that are important for healthcare.
What got you interested in wearables, and wearables specifically for healthcare in general?
Well, I mean, I've always been a maker, tinkerer at heart. So even before my PhD, I ran my own sort of maker space, Fab Lab, for about 10 years back in India. And we always worked on something wearable. Somebody was trying to build an IoT device that did something in the house, or that somebody would wear, or do some sort of monitoring. So health, especially assistive technology devices, is something that I focused on a lot back in India. And then this opportunity with Ultrahuman was perfect right after my PhD, because Ultrahuman not just focuses on the hardware side of things, right? You're also focusing on consumer health. You're also focusing on something that you can change at a very large scale, because ultimately, if you look at it, we are creatures of habit. If you do not change those micro habits that you do on a daily basis, it's very hard for you to make those big lifestyle changes, especially once it goes into your medical situation. Like once you're clinically diagnosed with something, to reverse that is very hard, because you have to now be on meds, you have to have higher dietary restrictions, you have to do a whole lot of things, which becomes proper healthcare, right? So which is more post than pre.
Right.
So that's where Ultrahuman healthcare becomes very exciting to work with, because it's pre-preventative, right? You're trying to say that how can you do something today in small doses that can actually make a huge change in your life later. For example, I am a big rice eater. Like, I mean, coming from India, we love our carbs a
Best
lot,
food.
right?
I grew up in England, so it's my favorite favorite cuisine.
You have rice and fried. Everything is oil based, and of course, my recent doctor's visit, I got to know that I am very high on cholesterol and borderline diabetic. And when I started wearing my CGM and when I started having my smart ring and other devices, I'm so much more conscious. I'm logging my food activity. I'm trying to cut down on rice. I'm trying to have a more protein and a balanced diet.
Yep.
I would not have done this. Even though I knew about it, but I did not know better. Like, I did not sort of make those conscious decisions every day. But with these wearables and with these kinds of devices that keeps alerting you or pinging you and saying that, hey, your blood glucose spiked like crazy. Did you have like a late meal last night? Or did you have a caffeine? Or did you have alcohol or something? And you will see that it immediately, of course, you know that your body sort of adjusts over time, and then whatever you put in, your sort of body figures out to sort of work with it. But then these kinds of devices highlight how much you're hurting your body over time, like how much stress it induces, how much lack of sleep, like your sleep quality sort of reduces. So I think all these were fascinating when I was looking at job opportunities in some sense. And I said, this is where I want to be, because I feel that as a person aging myself who wants to also see these changes in myself, because I want to live a healthier life. I do not want to sort of go back to the medical system and then sort of be that kind of person. So to make those changes, it not just felt like a personal need, but it also felt like a professional sort of fulfillment and personal fulfillment coming together.
Well, I love that mission because I am a, biohacker. I love to just figure out all of the different ways for preventative health, right? I don't want to ever get sick. So I want to prevent it as much as possible. And so I'm sure these wearables were originally in that space, right? Everyone who was like me, who said, okay, what's the newest thing that I can get my hands on that's going to help optimize my health or track it or find missing pieces so I can fix with supplements or whatever that may be. Like, I think the stress tracking is insanely helpful because it's a very untrackable thing if you don't have a wearable.
Right.
You have no idea how much you're under. And so that has been really helpful. For me, it's even stopped me drinking, really.
That's right.
Because I realized that even after 1 to 2 drinks, the effect it had on my body, even if I felt a little not great, it wasn't that bad. One or 2 glasses of wine still wrecked my HRV and all this. So it really stopped me from doing that. How do you go from selling a product or just, getting people interested who aren't biohackers, but who are, people like you were saying who should be tracking this, but aren't super proactive in doing it?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said, how these wearables are doing the things that they're doing today. I don't think they were doing that before, right? Yeah. They were more, so people wore wearables, like, for example, there were very niche kind of use cases, like people who wore CGMs were people who were generally diabetic, right? Who were tracking their glucose and insulin and things like those, when to sort of medicate themselves and things like those. And it was still like, if somebody wore them, that it was almost like somebody is going through something and that's why they have it, and not necessarily because they're being pro about it. So, but it has changed, like the industry has sort of flipped itself, right? So now if you look at it, a lot of the companies that are building these wearables are positioning themselves as those kinds of companies which are preventive, and they're trying to provide the tools of the toolkit that you need to make these kinds of life choices. Now, for somebody who has not used it, again, they would be meeting friends who are using it. They're meeting people who are using it, colleagues, coworkers, whatever that is. They will start observing that, there's a paradigm shift in how people think. Before, colleagues used to say, oh, well, let's go get a drink after work, right? Now, probably they'll say, let's go get a smoothie, or let's go for a run, or it's different, right? And then you start seeing that, again, there's also another study that came out that the new generations have, they're tapering down on alcohol consumption, and the alcohol industry is getting affected. Yeah. Now, in a sense, I would say it's almost getting correct it because it probably became too much. And then now it needs, like, it's like stock market, right? Somebody's stock goes very high. It also needs a correction. And then sometimes it will sort of be volatile and then it sort of comes back to some sort of normalization. Maybe that's what we are as a civilization. We're going through those kinds of transformation because people are wanting access, because anyway, a lot of things are getting tracked in everybody's lives, right? Your spending is getting tracked, your choices are getting tracked, your video likes and dislikes are getting tracked, and a lot of things are getting optimized. And then a lot of people in engineering are trying to figure those optimization sort of problems as well. And that's where I think when you look at people who are not using it, it's just a matter of time before they start using it.
Sure.
Because when you have friends, when you have people around you that are tracking it and seeing the results that they want to see. Oh, there's a fitter you, there's a beautiful you, there's a, healthier you, and then you can actually see it, sense it, and feel it. And that's when people are like, maybe I want to make those choices for myself as well. So I keep telling this to my wife and kids as well, because in our daily household conversations, because I work here and my wife's PhD is also on wearables.
Cool.
We talk about it all the time, and I can look at my kids, they're curious, and then, okay, what is HRV? And what is this resting heart rate, and why is it important? And what's happening? What is your stress level? I keep using it as my trump card. When my kids, try to harass me too much, I'd be like, look at the device. It's telling me that I'm stressed right now. And they're like, if you don't want your dad to live longer, you can keep stressing me out. And they're like, okay, fine. We'll give you a break. It's crazy. It's like, you cannot do this without the device and data to show them.
That's hilarious. I have definitely used that. I've been like, look at this day I had. It's just been so stressful. Oh my gosh. There was one day that was, and I didn't even realize it either. But sometimes the social
it creeps
settings,
up on you. Yeah.
That's something fascinating too. Like the social stuff, even if it's fun stress,
Yep.
that's still stress.
Correct.
Go to a party. I'm very social, but still, it's stress.
I mean, your mind is your mind and body are constantly dealing with emotions. You're dealing with information coming in, information going out. We're technically sort of systems ourselves.
Yeah.
And then if you stress a system, it's like and in small doses, you wouldn't know. But then with these kinds of devices, it sort of gives you the tool to know.
Absolutely. I think a lot of women are using it too for women's health, right? That's a really exciting space. I've used Mira before for hormone tracking and making you that's really cool to see and be like, oh, great.
Yeah. I mean, it's great you mentioned women's health because, again, wearables, especially companies like ours, are huge on women's health. Because if you look at our data of the amount of wearables women buy versus men, early adopters are more women than men.
Interesting.
Because again, a ring as a form factor or some of these other things as a form factor is more appealing for women than men.
I see.
And that's why when you see some of the finishes and some of the things that we have, it caters to more women than men-ish, right? But having said that, it's very important also to do justice to the women's health sort of part of things, because one is not just aesthetics, but one is functionality as well, right? So we acquired a company called Vio Health in UK, which was an expert in women's health and has algorithms and devices and other things. And we're bringing that expertise into the ecosystem at Ultrahuman. And we have been huge proponents of making sure that we're always scientifically backed with whatever that we're releasing.
That's very interesting. And I'm excited to see how this space evolves, especially with preventative care for illness, but also for things like pregnancy, right? And tracking and making sure everything's okay in that. That is so fascinating.
Pregnancy, cycle tracking, perimenopause, all of these things that are very, very critical for women to understand what's happening so that, again, as we said, we're all into the micro habit changing thing.
Right.
So when you do have these kinds of phases in women's life, you really want to have the ability to make the right choices, whether you're trying to conceive, whether you're trying to not to conceive, whatever that may be, or whether you're trying to stay healthy, or whether you want to have your best performance at your workplace. Like if you know that your ring is telling you that take a day off, because this is not the day that you actually fight those battles, you know? Then you can relax and then sort of say that, okay, let me not stress myself out today, which I can then go back at it tomorrow, because today my body is already fighting for what it needs.
100%. And in a startup, it's high stress environment, and I'm seeing that in my results, right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, you're handling it very well, though.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but it's only because I'm correcting the rest.
Correct.
You know, that's the only way I'd be able to do it. So I just have to make life changes, right, when you do that.
Right.
Over the holidays, we had family over, and Eric's dad has diabetes. If you're listening, sorry. But he has one of the glucose trackers.
Yeah.
And so my husband's brother and his wife were here.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, I got my glucose tracker. And I said, oh, I just bought one. And he was like, what are you talking about? Why would
You need one.
have a glucose tracker? So do you want to share more about that and what's existing? And then obviously I want to talk more about future tech, but tell us about the glucose tracker.
I mean, glucose tracker, again, is an invasive device, right? So it needs FDA clearance. So that's why a lot of the companies like ours, we tie up with other companies that have already these technologies out there. But what the other companies don't do very well is the data side of things, is the insight side of things. So we have a tie-up with Abbott. We have the Libre sensors that we bring onto our platform and then use that device to show the data that, in a very, very, our user interface is very friendly, and then you also get better insights. And again, when you pair that up with the other things in the ecosystem, like the smart ring or we have a blood test on our app. We also have a ambient monitoring system, which is called as the home that sits in your home. So one is looking inward. The other one is to look outward as well, because often what happens is you're in controlled environments. You're either working at an office place in a controlled environment. You're at a home if you're working from home, or if you're at home doing other homely things, right? So you need to also monitor what's happening. So, for example, the home device monitors temperature, light, noise, pollution, a lot of things, which is very interesting because one would think inside your house, what pollution are you looking for? The pollutants does not have to be like what you think is emissions from a car or whatever, right? It could be your AC filter might be spitting out mold or
Can it track that?
100%.
Oh, that's insane.
We do particulate matter, PM 2.5, PM 1.0, and also we can do volatile organic compounds. These are called VOCs that are there in your general household. It should not be there, like formaldehyde and some of the other things.
Sure.
Like if you use a cleaning agent, that should not have those kinds of things, right? But then often we buy price-sensitive products and then we use it at home. Maybe that's not the best to use. Maybe you need to switch to a better thing, because when in a controlled environment, it might be very dangerous, because if you're inhaling the same thing and then your lungs and other things, or if you have young children in the house. So this home device can do a whole bunch, right? So it can do this kind of pollution, but the other fun facts that it can do is it can do snoring detection. It has a microphone in there. If you have cough and snoring, and if you have some sort of sleep apnea or respiratory sort of issues, it sort of tracks that too, along with your wearable. And if you're watching and scrolling, doom scrolling in the night when you're turned off light, it can do that kind of blue light detection and say, hey, you were your screen time increased from yesterday to today. What are you doing?
No wonder you can't sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have this kind of an ecosystem of products, right? So you have the blood test, which again, your wearable is telling you something. Your CGM is telling you something. Your home is telling you something. Then your blood test, which gives you the absolute biomarker of where you are, right? And then all of these talk to one another and then sort of help you come up with what's best for you, right? Insights, suggestions. You can, there's a live chat in the app as well that you can use to create some plans for yourself as to how to improve your lifestyle. Now, from the CGM point of view, again, that tech has existed for a while. What we do better is to help you really understand what is happening. And somebody who questions, you're not, why do you need to track it? Everyone needs to track it, because how do you know what you're eating? Is your glucose spiking because you're stressed or because of a meal? And if you're able to sort of understand how your body works, then you have a baseline of what it can do and what it cannot do, and then make those sort of tweaks and changes.
It's so exciting and fascinating. I'm going to start mine. I'm going to a wedding in Mexico this weekend, so I'm not going to put it on yet. But as soon as I'm back, I'm going to winter. I'm like, okay, I have a month I can test.
You don't want to create a wrong baseline for it. It thinks that your party thing is your base.
I need to do it after that. Exactly.
Sure.
So that was really, I'm excited to see what foods do that to me too. So I can go, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat this thing. I know obviously protein with everything, but like, okay, what's spiking it? Let's find out. So this is all very exciting because of, you're saying, very holistic view of like, to see what people can change. And where do you see all of this going? Because this is encompassing so much of life, and it's so cool. And I can't wait, probably smart homes completely. But I mean, where do you see it going in the next 10 years?
I mean, I have my personal opinion about where it goes in 10 years from now. And of course, there's the company-based sort of angle as well, right? So now if you look at it from a industry or a company point of view, you also want to keep bringing products or working on products that users are going to find valuable, useful, and then somewhere again, the ethos of the company to be met, right? So where you're saying, how do we become that consumer healthcare company that one can reliably sort of depend on to provide the right insights at the right time? Because again, timing matters. If you provide an insight a little too late, like you have to now go for medical treatment. Right. So again, all of these is what we will keep consciously working towards and then building products to support our users and customers as well. But from a personal opinion, I think, again, as we were saying, technology has the beautiful part of technology is it is always there to sort of make an impact in one's life, right? Now, again, there are other aspects to technology that people do not like. Let's say, again, jobs or things like that. But again, those are all functions of how technology work anyway, because if you look at today with the horse example versus car, it took away carriage riders and a bunch of other people, but we have Uber drivers, in a sense, right? So I'm just saying that things will happen, right? Now, in 10 years, I feel that, I think a lot more people are going to be more healthy because now that people are making smarter choices, better choices. And again, it might pave the way for certain implantables that might come in the future as well. Because imagine this, for those who said, I'm not going to be wearing anything on my body, no smart thing, no nothing. I don't want to be tracked. I don't want to do anything. Well, they are changing. They're already wearing their Apple Watch, their Garmins, and the mobile phones. Things are happening, right? People who probably were from flip phones and touch whatever, the keypad phones, now are all on smartphones, scrolling and doing things. So I think the power of technology is that it keeps sort of increasing its sort of usage and penetration. And I feel, especially from the wearable side of things or from the healthcare side of things, I think hospital systems will change because now people are going to their doctors and then asking about, why is my heart rate variability this? Why is my rest and recovery this? What score does this mean? What are you thinking about this? And the doctor today might not be saying, oh, that's not legit. Let's not talk about that. I have my own tests. You're going to run those tests and scans in our unit, and then I'll tell you what. It might change because when the industry and healthcare sort of work together and these start becoming mainstream, you will start seeing that patient sort of flows might be different. You might first, who knows, my kids in school might be told, start wearing this, track that. Later, when they're, in their adulthood, then they might say, in the medical system, they have your records from, let's say, whatever grade, right? And then you know that how that person's health has sort of, what the landscape or the picture looks like, so that medicine can be tailored. Treatment plans can be tailored. Again, with AI, you never know that the doctor might be the last person that you would need unless it's a case of critical whatever.
Right.
But until then, you might have other systems in place, especially with these kinds of devices. And like, agentic AI sort of in between, doing a lot of things in between, and then eventually ending up saying that, okay, when there has to be a human that has to look at this case is when you get a human in the case.
It's interesting to hear you talk about that with healthcare. Are you seeing resistance from the health industry?
Always, right? I mean, again, I think human race cannot do anything without resistance. I mean, it's the same thing with lifestyle too, right? I mean, the day I started putting these on, it told me when to stand, when to walk, when to drink water, when to sort of like, breathe, meditate, and then also like, track alcohol or food or whatever. It is painful because it's like, who are you to tell me, right? I mean, what is this? But then as soon as you start realizing that, wait a minute, that's what is needed for me to be better, for me to sort of look good, for me to sort of perform better. Like, I feel more energetic than ever before, right? So that's what is needed. And once that happens, once you start seeing what it can do or what it has done to somebody that you did not look like this before, you did not act, like what happened? And then the person was like, this happened. That changes. Like, so there's always going to be, again, it's like that bell curve of adoption, right? So you have these early adopters and then you have laggards at the end. So you will have that kind of a phase for any tech and for anybody who's around that tech. So healthcare, and especially the traditional healthcare, is no different because you have people who are obviously saying, because again, it becomes, a matter of credibility as well, right? Eventually you build credibility and that's why everybody wants it. But then in the early phases, it's all about credibility and that establishing trust. So companies has to establish trust with healthcare. Healthcare will have to establish trust reverse back into the companies as well, because now it's a two-way street, right? And then you have customers in between that also need to now establish trust and credibility with both of these systems. Because imagine this, right? Today I go to a doctor and then they're prescribing me cholesterol meds. But then based on these, I do not have to take a higher dosage. I can actually make some lifestyle changes, see realistic results with some bit of medication if needed. So that's where I think we will all end up in this kind of a place, which will be a symbiotic and synergistic sort of a place, but it will take time because anything will always have resistance.
Oh, completely. I'm building a software and outdated industry myself in legislative technology, right? Nothing.
That's
technology.
Yeah.
And so there is that resistance of it's the trust piece. There's early adopters who are like, yes, I need something that's better. And now I'm seeing more than ever, 2 years in.
That's right.
People saying, oh my God, I need to get onto the AI trend. This is crazy. And they're saying, my boss tells me I need to get on it. So I feel like that probably is coming in the healthcare space.
Yep.
But what I'm seeing the sentiment of in every field of people I'm talking to is people need to be willing to adapt and a change in this AI revolution.
Yep. And all you need is, again, a handful of people who are on both sides of the fence, right?
Yeah.
You need some legislators and who are pro something, to willing to pilot it, test it, show the use case, show the results. And then you also have these companies who need to also do that. It requires patience. It requires trust and a handful of early believers.
Yeah.
And I think it will happen.
So I just saw from your LinkedIn, you're meeting with Senator Cornyn and I think Matt Shaheen. Great guy, a tech guy himself.
Yeah.
So tell me more about what you're working on now and kind of the political side of things. Like, what is it you have to change minds, like talk to? I'm curious.
I mean, that was more, probably I don't have to tell them what we're really solving for, because I'm sure they're aware of the benefits of some of these as well. My meetings have largely been on trying to make the smart ring space, or this kind of a healthcare space, a more equitable, non-monopolistic space, because there is a lot of issues around the smart ring patents and things like those as well. So my talks with legislative leaders and elected leaders have always been towards how do we safeguard consumer choice? How do we safeguard freedom to choose for American public, for customers, especially because given it's their healthcare, given it's their health, given it's their choice. Because as a consumer, if you're limited by choices, and then if it's only one or two company that you're always going to buy something from, that is a very tricky place to be in. And my meetings have largely been to advocate or build policies that are more favorable to American consumers and American public. So that's where I've been meeting. But of course, in these discussions, you obviously talk about the benefits of why one wears a wearable, why healthcare needs these kinds of devices. Because again, if you look at it, America, USA is the most advanced country for wearables. Like there's no market in the world like USA. Europe, Australia, some of the other places, of course, they do have adoption and they do have people wearing it, but not at the scale like the US does. US is a front runner in technologies like this. And again, it's thanks to the wonderful set of people that come to the US from different places, make it their own, and then also build USA and I feel that kind of support and pride in doing things is not there in other countries.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I moved here when I was 18 from the UK. And appreciate the American dream.
Yeah.
Yes. It feels real.
Yeah. This is my second stint in the US. I came in 2006 and then stayed here till 2012. Then went back to India, did something, and then now I'm back because I largely believe that, even with my 2 kids that I upped and moved with my wife and 2 kids, we came for our PhDs, of course, because it was who can miss fully funded scholarship-based PhD programs for a husband and wife in the same university. So it's a very rare opportunity. So we said that we're not going to pass that up. And then we moved here. And then that was the professional side of things. But on the personal side of things, we wanted to give our children the best exposure that any country can give. And USA is the place where you can get that exposure, especially if you have, my professor keeps making fun of this. He says that, the lowest degree that your children will do is what the mom would have done. And my wife is a PhD, so I know.
That's great.
No pressure if you're listening, kids. No pressure.
Why did Ultrahuman pick Plano to be the manufacturing facility?
Oh, that's a great question. One, I think North Texas in general, like not just Plano, right? The whole DFW region has been an amazing place. Like if you look at it, talent pool, the number of universities that are just around for us to work with, and the manufacturing prowess, the supply chain thing, access, DFW airport is one of the best airports, right?
Oh my gosh.
So in order to access any international city, any sort of thing. So DFW region and Plano, of course, being very, very pro-business, super friendly to find great contract manufacturers, right? So that's where we found ours. And it's been a great journey in Plano. And of course, it became super exciting for me because I finished my degree in UTD, and then this factory was like 10 minutes from UTD, right? So for me, it was like godsend. And it makes perfect sense for Plano specifically because, again, you have workforce, you have contract manufacturers, you have the capabilities, you have educational institutions for research, partnerships, different things. And I think cost of living is great too. I don't think houses are not very expensive, lifestyle and then lifestyle costs, not bad.
We just moved my grandma from Plano down here just to be closer to us, but
sure,
she misses it.
She's
so sad. She's happy she's here, but she misses Plano a lot. So.
Yep.
You mentioned there's a lot of different manufacturing jobs and things, but also things you want to automate. So what types of jobs, just for those listening, if they're in university and they're studying engineering, what types of things are you seeing the need for?
Again, right, so in any kind of, let's say, these kinds of smart manufacturing, especially form factors that are very tight, right, requires highly specialized machines to be built, right, or even in automation. And when we say automation, people often have these kinds of misconception that, it'll take away everybody's job. Probably not. Okay, I had 100 people in my line. Would everybody lose their job? Probably not. I would still have to have 25, 30 people. 70 people might lose their jobs, but you still have 25, 30 people who'd have to upskill themselves to manage the machines, workflows, do different things as well. Probably paid a little more than what they're getting paid today. because it would improve the quality of jobs. It would improve the price that they would get as a salary. But then, yes, the trade-off would be losing those 70 jobs. But again, a company is always looking at optimization. Like, how can I optimize output? How can I optimize human value? How can I optimize multiple things as well? In that realm, you have to make some of these choices. Now, for those listening in college, the best thing is, again, first get to college, get a college degree, and focus on things where you're able to, let's say, you don't have to be coding, but you need to know how to troubleshoot something. You need to, especially in this modern world where a lot of things is computer driven, right? So computer literacy and sort of AI literacy, because now that will be more and more, is very important. And then once you know how to use these tools, you can troubleshoot a lot of these kinds of machines or workflows and other things as well. So that's where I would say for people who are listening and who are in college, focus on getting those kinds of skills, which will always be needed, right? Again, will there be robots to troubleshoot other robots? Sure, but then who'll troubleshoot that? There's always things that will happen. And as a human being, one can always not afford to be curious. You have to be curious. You have to know how to fix things, because I think that'll be one of our biggest strengths. Whether it's fixing a machine or something online, we're always doing something. We're always fixers.
Every field needs to have those
Yes.
abilities as well. Like
Absolutely.
you just spoke to, curiosity
Yeah.
and wanting to fix things and problem solve and using AI to be accurate. That is so important. We're seeing that demand wake up in every field, legal space, right? Everywhere. Do you think that these types of facilities will keep popping up in the U.S. and different wearables will continue to be built in the U.S.?
That's the hope. And also the hope is, also the other point is we might have set that, as I keep joking internally in our company, but I also keep telling that to others when I meet people, right? So it's like, we're almost like the poster child of bringing smart manufacturing, of smart wearables, right? Let's put it that way. I don't think any other company has been manufacturing smart wearables in the US, right? As far as I know. And we might be the first one, and we might have set that, or we might have paved that path for others, or competitors, or other sort of aspiring smart wearable sort of makers to also make in the US. So it's amazing to see that, yes, we were able to put in our investments and bring in the right kind of workforce for it, train them for it. And then because our contract manufacturer, frankly, did not know that, we had to bring that expertise to them with the machines that we developed, say outside of the US, brought those machines here, and then created those workflows and created those processes for these smart wearables to be made in the US. So hopefully there'll be more. Hopefully there'll be more support from the government to establish these kinds of places as well.
On the policy side, I know you have a good relationship with Texas Association of Business.
Yep.
You're very involved in Austin. What are some of your goals before this next session? Are you working on state, or is it mostly federal?
Right now, because of the nature of the issue that we're facing with one of our competitors, it is more federal in nature. But of course, there's always statewide things as well that need support.
Sure.
So I'm constantly reaching out to both state level representatives and federal level representatives. So always looking at a way to connect to elected leaders to say that, hey, listen, we're not just some random company that's here today, gone tomorrow, or do not brand us as it almost sort of gets branded as, oh, these made in China, made in India sort of companies are coming. Well, guess what? No, we're here. We're in Plano. We were trying to establish our business here in Plano and then grow and scale in Texas, right? But sometimes you get brushed in the broad stroke of several of these things, and trying to change that perception in a federal level and state level is where most of your energies are going.
Sure.
So I spend a lot of time here in Austin, and then probably more have to go to DC and do a lot more as well. But the hope is that they will start seeing that Ultrahuman is a brand that is American and wants to stay here and then do business here, grow here, and really make an impact in American lives.
So you are an engineer and a lobbyist. What is this? This is amazing. That's one of the first. So
I guess, I mean, but I would say it's not new, because in my PhD, I actually got a fellowship called as the Archer Fellowship.
Okay.
And this fellowship is given to UT students who want to go and do a summer-long, so it's the Graduate Archer Fellowship is what I was part of. For 3 months, I was in DC doing policy and advocacy level work.
Cool.
It was a bunch of courses I had to take. I had to do an internship. I had to work with people in the lobby business and policy business in DC. So it's not new, because for the first time, I did not know that engineers actually did these kinds of things as well.
Yeah.
When this call for applications came in, my wife insisted that I apply, because she's from the arts and humanities side, and they kind of sort of do a lot of these kinds of things as well. For engineering, it was new, and I'm glad she forced me to do it, because that has now translated into Ultrahuman, leveraging those sort of connects and networks that was there to actually do something more meaningful and impactful.
Well, as we wrap up, I mean, where do you see, what's you're most excited about for the future of where are companies going for wearables, and what's the most exciting tech you're pumped about?
I think for me, the most exciting thing is, again, we use wearables as input devices, right? I mean, they're there with certain sensors, with certain capabilities, and you can build a whole bunch, right? You can put something for your heel, if you want to measure how your gait looks like or what happens there. You can put something on your ankle. You can put something on your hip. You can put something behind the head. You have these kinds of crazy wearables that are popping up in the market as well, and trying to do different things. What is exciting for me is, no matter what these wearables are capable of, ultimately it's the ecosystem that you'll have to build. Because again, how many companies' products do you want to have? How many software apps do you want to have? It becomes ridiculously overwhelming to track and manage. Not saying it from a more monopolistic view that, everything should be under one app rolled on. It's like your phone too. Eventually you will not have so many apps. It'll also be rolled into the operating system of the phone. Like before, a calendar would have been an app. Before, an alarm would be an app.
Right.
Now it's just features of the phone. Mm. Yes, you have other options to download Uber and different kinds of quick eat sort of apps, or you want to download something else. Similarly, I feel that the future is going to be where you have platform which sort of still takes in different data points, different inputs, ultimately for a user to make it easy to make those kinds of lifestyle choices. I'm all about that, because ultimately, if you do not provide the user the benefit of all these devices on something that they can actually just make quick decisions on, because everything is about, I'm not saying quick results. This is two sort of things. Nothing happens overnight. You cannot just say, okay, I'm not good as a body, and then overnight I use these wearables. Why am I not better today? Sure. It's not going to happen. You have to make those lifestyle changes. But you can help make quicker decisions, because now all you need is those kinds of, let's say, it's not a New Year resolution, because you just don't do it for one day and then drop it off. But it's those quick decisions and resolutions that you will need to make for yourself to say, okay, this is the year I'm not going to drink much. I'm going to drink socially occasionally, but not much.
And I don't know when you do.
Correct. And then maybe that's what you need. Maybe some part of the body that will still say, hey, this really affected this man. Stop doing it. Maybe it's a liver sensor. I don't know. Whatever it is, right? So you're way, again, we joked about this. In Ultrahuman, we say, welcome cyborgs, the minute you buy our product, right? So we're already saying that people are going to be cyborgs. Again, what does a cyborg mean? Now, if you have a device, if you have something that's non-native to you, and it's electronic and doing something, you're already a cyborg. I don't go anywhere without my watch and my ring and my phone, right? So it's attached to me, not physically so, but then kind of, yes.
I think people don't realize they already are cyborgs,
exactly.
Right? The phone and the tracking and it being just on constantly we've already stepped into that now.
Correct. So that's where I feel like, I'm super excited that this sector is really going to evolve to a place where people are going to look at it as, oh, it's just part of me, right? It's a digital you, like it's a digital twin, literally representing. So any of these wearables, wherever it goes on your body, it starts becoming that sort of a digital twin of you. So your digital twin is able to sort of also, you can start simulating, I guess. Like you can say, okay, today I'm going to drink 3 beers. How am I going to look like tomorrow? Oh, I'm not going to do 3. I'll do half a beer, right? So you sort of enter into this realm of how can I really help people make those better choices?
I love just the highly customizable piece to it.
Correct.
Customized healthcare. It's not one size fits all. Everyone is completely different. All things affect them. So,
I mean, that's where the demographics and genetics and all of these things come into picture, right? To tailor the algorithm to make it personal for you. Because again, I might be a 5'5" Indian male in the 40s. There might be an exact same person who's 5'5" Indian male 40s, but might have a completely different requirement than me. And it cannot be like, okay, we're all bracketed under the same. And it's like, don't smoke, don't drink. No, probably maybe that person can have one more beer than me and I cannot.
It's all very exciting. Where can people keep up with you and keep up with what you're doing?
Oh, well, I mean, we are very active on social media. We're very active. I mean, our website is a great resource. So ultrahuman.com as like, you can find a lot happening. Okay. Personally, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn if they're interested to keep this conversation going. And I'm super excited to talk. And I mean, I don't know if you can say, but I love talking.
I love it. I know. Well, you're welcome back anytime.
I'm a different engineer, I guess.
It's been amazing to talk to you. And any last thoughts?
I think the last thoughts for me would be like, I thank you for doing this, of course, because I think your audience is a lot more politically sort of aware, or people who are trying to sort of be some sort of making a change in that realm and trying to do something. So I think it's great to sort of reach out to an audience like that, because I think often it is really understated that companies do not understand the importance of governance, government, and also policies and advocacy sort of level work. Because often companies are heads down building products, selling them, building those partnerships, but they forget that there's this larger piece of legislation, rules, regulations that sit on top of all of this. And that system needs to know about what's happening, because ultimately you cannot create black box kind of situations, because that's what tech largely deals with, right? Because they're like, oh, people don't understand, or have we put an effort to actually help them understand? So, and it sort of becomes like, oh, just think of it as a black box. No, please don't say that. Let's say if it's a gray box or maybe even a white box where people know what's happening. People need to know so that they can make better choices about legislations, about helping, companies actually regulate and do things as well. So I think my last thoughts are, this is a fantastic platform for that kind of a conversation and to help companies actually do better by also working in synergies with people who are making the rules.
And this season is very focused heavily on businesses and business leaders. Last season was a lot more with the on the lobbyist side, legislator side, but really want to hear from businesses, because another big demographic of a customer type of mine is actually founders and people who were in the tech space, Silicon Valley, Austin, anyone listening, because they're in heavily regulated industries that they need to monitor, make sure that they're compliant or that their business is still going to be alive. So that's been an interesting new group to serve. So yes, absolutely lovely to have you. And excited to keep hearing all the amazing things you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.